Welcome to the Ladies Lounge.
Narcissists will do everything and say everything in their power to make you feel like they will never do it again, except actually work on not doing it again. You know what I'm saying? Like
absolutely.
And unfortunately, some people will never change or get out of that. And maybe they'll never change with you. Maybe years from now, they'll change for the next person. But I do believe that I think I read a study on that there is, room for a narcissist to change if they take it upon themselves. I actually came across a TikToker who grew from that.
So I have a lot of new followers that don't know my story. I am diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder. And I know that seems unbelievable. It might blow your mind because you've never seen a self-aware person admit it and things like that. I have been in therapy for over 3 years. I'm 35 years old. I've been in therapy since I was like 31 and a half. I've always known I was different. My emotions don't click the same. My empathy is really, really low. I have selective empathy. I can feel bad for stuff. But the turning point was when I lost everything. Like my wife left me. We got into a rage argument one night. She left me and she said, "It's so hard living with a narcissist." So I threw it back at her. I was like, "You're a narcissist." Because like most people, I just thought it was like a term that you threw at somebody that's full of themselves. I didn't realize it was a full-blown personality disorder until I started doing research and looking into it. All those damn traits, the DSM-5, all of them are me. So I told her I would go to therapy to change. And I went to therapy 3 years later, who we are. Now, initially, I wasn't going to go to therapy. I just told her that. But she called me on that bullshit and I had to go.
So this guy not only admitted to what he used to do to reel women back in, but he also admitted that it's a daily work. It's a daily practice that he's got to do to keep himself from not becoming a narcissist again. And he's actually a life coach when it comes to people who are narcissistic. So if you want to change, you got to apply yourself, not just say it. And unfortunately, what he sounds to me, in my opinion, it sounds like he's just masking it again because he doesn't want to lose you. And he doesn't want to lose you because you have probably put up with a lot of his shit. And I mean, Angie can tell you more on that too, right? Because you not recently, but you dealt with that with your ex-husband. I have never been married, but I know that that took 10 years for you to finally get out of that. And you knew from the get that he was a narcissist. From the moment that he played you the first time, you knew it, but you just didn't leave. Now, maybe I think you can elaborate more on that. Like, why is it that it wasn't easy for you to leave? Like, what is it? Because I think your tips would actually help her more than mine would.
I mean, I think you did a great job of explaining what a narcissist is because, like you said, we both have been there and we know what to expect from a person who's a narcissist. Because honestly, it's like almost the same traits in every person that I have personally experienced this.
But why didn't you leave? Like
It's the
put yourself in her
codependency.
shoes.
Is the codependency. So basically, when it comes to narcissists, there's codependency. So it takes two to be involved in a situation like this. And that's basically why I wouldn't leave, because that's all I knew. You know, I had been with him since I was 17. I didn't want to be alone. At this point, we had a child. So right before we had a child, I had actually caught him with a woman at our apartment. So, you know, it's crazy that even then I still, stayed because I basically just didn't want to be by myself. And he was
back
all
then.
I
You
knew.
weren't admitting that though, right? Like,
No,
you
of course.
look at yourself in the mirror and say, girl, you just don't want to be alone. You don't realize that you really feel like you want to, I'm doing this for my family. Am I right?
Yep.
In saying that? Okay.
Yep.
Like that would be something you would say to yourself, because I've done it too, but I've never been married. But I can imagine that you would tell yourself, like, I got to make this work for my family. I got to make this work for my family. But in reality, what Angie is saying now is really what it has always been, which is she didn't want to be alone. She didn't want to be, and I can probably say this because I've been there too. You didn't want to just be a baby mama. You wanted to be, with the father of your child. You wanted to make that work. And I think when you're married, it's 10 times harder to leave a narcissist because you feel like they will change, or they're fathers now. They got to see at some point not to make that mistake. Or even if you tell them, like, if you do it one more time, I'm done. I'm pretty sure you've had that conversation multiple times and he's still done it again and again. So I think what she wants to know is, like, how did you decide what was the last draw where you were like, I just can't? Did you leave out of that not loving him? Did you leave? Like, what made it work for you? Was it because you were angry? Like, what was it? Because I think when you left, you still obviously loved him, but you knew at that point, like, this is never going to change.
So basically, when I found out that he had the second child on the way, we had been fighting that morning, and I was crying, and, you know, of course I was hurt about the whole situation, but my daughter was still at home, and I was getting ready to take her to school. So she saw me, you know, crying and like trying to gather myself. So when we were, you know, on our way to school, she's like, "Mom, what's wrong? Did daddy cheat on you again?" And it was at that moment that I knew it was time to go. Like, my daughter is seeing me put up with this. My daughter sees, you know, what pain that it's causing me and causing her. And I just felt like it was more of a, I need to do this for her. I need to protect her. It's one thing for me, I can handle whatever, but I just don't want her growing up thinking that this is love and that this is okay, and she's going to have two younger siblings, you know, that aren't for me. How do I explain that to her? You know, it was just so much that it finally hit me. And she was like 6 years old at the time, and I remember I was like, she's old enough now where she can remember this stuff, so I need to exit now. And it was really, you know, for her. And as hard as it was, I know that I needed to do it in order to save us, because it was getting, you know, pretty bad. So it just got to the point where I knew, you know, it was time to go. And I just hate that we do that to ourselves sometimes. We literally hang in to us, or we hang on to a situation, and it's like, for what? Like, what are we wasting our time for? Why do we continue to hurt ourselves? Because at the end of the day, you are hurting yourself by staying in a situation. And,
can I point something out that I think
Yeah.
you probably haven't put the two together, but this I feel like is coming full circle. So the reason why you never left in the first place, you didn't leave the first time he did it, was because you thought in your head, I'm doing this for my family. I want my child to have both parents in her life. And then when you left, you actually were really doing it for your family. You get what I'm saying? So at the time when you left, when you didn't want to leave him, you kept saying to yourself, I don't want to leave because I want this to work. I want my child to have her family. And so in your mind, you thought you were doing it for your family, but you weren't doing it for your family until you left. You actually did it for your family the real way by saying, I don't want my child to see this. It's not healthy for my child to see this. And in turn, I don't deserve this, you know? So you actually walked away from that. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you walked away from that, actually doing it for your family. So sometimes you got to stop yourself, and so that way so many much more years don't go by, and realize, like, am I doing it for my family, or is this really for me? I'm just telling myself I'm doing it for my family, but it's really, I'm doing it for myself because I don't want to be alone, you know?
Yep. And I think I remember you specifically telling me, like, you know, when he would be around, you were like, yeah, I feel like he just basically uses your daughter to be around you. It wasn't like a genuine, like, I'm here, you know, playing my role as a father. It was, I know this is the only way I can get close to Angie, so I'm going to, you know, use our daughter as a way of getting close to her.